Hey, what's up, guys? So today I want to discuss everything that I read and watched in the month of January. So this month has been a pretty busy month for me in general, so I wasn't really prepared to read or watch as much as I did, but you know, it's fine. Stop it! I love my cat, but she attacks my lighting equipment, which is annoying. So anyways, back to where I was. I read and watched a lot. I also started school this semester for my senior year, so this is the first semester of my senior year, so I'm super pumped. For that reason, I really didn't expect to read as much as I did or to watch as much as I did, but you know, stuff happens. I also got corona this past month, which was not fun, and also impacted the fact that like I couldn't really read for the first couple weeks because I was just like sleeping the entire time. But it's fine because I'm fine, my family's fine, so it's all good here. Let's get into the stuff that I read and watched, because who cares about my life? I'm gonna go through the books first because I know that I primarily talk about books on this channel, so if you only care about the books, then you can kind of leave at the end. Let's start off with the first book I read, which was A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor. I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. It was the second book in the Carl's duology, and I have a discussion for those two books, and I absolutely loved this book. I thought it was so perfect. I thought it was so poignant. I thought it had so many relevant points to what is going on in society today, and I absolutely loved the characters. I related so much to some of the struggles, especially with Miranda and some of her struggles. I did think Maya was a very relevant character though, and she did really discuss some topics that I think are really important to discuss right now, especially revolving around race and how tokenism in society kind of works and how that is problematic and stuff like that. So I do think it was really a great book and I highly recommend it. I cannot recommend that series enough. It was so fun. It is a sci-fi series about a girl who winds up going viral because of some statues that pop up overnight, and she dubs them the Carls. It's written by Hank Green, so if you didn't know, Hank Green is one of the Vlog brothers, and I've just been following him for so long that it felt like talking to a friend reading this book. So the next book I read was A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer, and I wound up reading this entire trilogy this month. So that's A Curse So Dark and Lonely, A Heart So Fierce and Broken, and A Vow So Bold and Deadly. So I have book talks up for the first two books in that series, and I'm going to be filming a third one right after I film this video, so that should be up sometime soon. This series I thought was good, but not great. I was a little disappointed. I expected better. So the first book in the series is a Beauty and the Beast retelling about a guy who is a prince in a fantasy world, and every season he has to go to the mortal realm, which is our realm, and grab a girl to make her fall in love with him, and if she doesn't fall in love with him, then he turns into a beast and kills a bunch of people. So this book, I just found it really disappointing because I expected it to feel a little bit more original. I really expected the world to be better developed. Whenever I have like a second world fantasy like that, I really like for the world to really be an integral part of the story, and it just didn't feel that way. That is something that is kind of picky about me. If you aren't someone who thinks that that is important to a story, then I think this might be a series you might want to pick up. I mean, I don't know. I'm a little biased because there are certain characters that just rubbed me the wrong way at the beginning of this series, and they just continue to rub me the wrong way throughout the series. All in all, not the best series I've ever read, but was definitely fun. Did make me laugh at times, so do with that what you will. The second book in the series was probably my favorite. So the next book I read was Daisy Jones and the Six, and I adored this book. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing style, and I love how she makes such real characters. Like, their struggles are so real, and so this book is about the rise of a rock group called Daisy Jones and the Six and their subsequent fall from fame. So this story follows Daisy Jones as well as the rest of the group, and I just thought that it was so relevant, and I really love Daisy Jones, and I love the guy in it, whatever his name is, Billy. I thought that their struggles with drug addiction is so relevant and so important, and I think that that's such a great discussion because what brings someone off the drug wagon doesn't necessarily bring off everyone, and you know, everyone has their own journey to kind of stopping that struggle. Stuff like sending someone to prison doesn't really fix anything. It just puts a band-aid on the problem for a little bit, if that. I think that this is a very relevant book, and I think that the struggle with drug addiction is something that should be discussed. I'm not someone who's ever really struggled with that, so I'm gonna leave it to this book to discuss it. I recommend picking up this book. So the next book I read is Lore by Alexandra Bracken. I love this book. This is an urban fantasy about a girl who grows up with the hunters, and so the hunters every 7 years hunt down 9 gods who wound up insulting Zeus in some way, and so he's punishing them by every 7 years heroes, having them be hunted so that their power can like be put into mortal hands. If you kill a god, then you become a god, and if you become a god, then you wind up having their powers and stuff. But there's a lot of stuff that goes in with that, and this book really discusses a lot of major issues, I believe, too. I think that this book really discusses women's rights and how important it is to kind of treat people equally, because we can do the same stuff, like we can do just as much. So I thought that this book was really good at that, and I just absolutely loved the characters. I thought that the world development was so well done, and all of the plot twists just had me so thrown every time. If I didn't mention this before, I have a book tuck up for this. 5 out of 5 stars. I love it. I want more standalone fantasies in my life. I love standalone fantasies. I need to find more. Okay, so the last book I read is Lady Midnight. Now, I thought that I had read Lady Midnight and Lord of Shadows, but I actually didn't. I only read Lady Midnight, which is kind of upsetting. It's fine. I'm going to finish the series anyways. This book, it was such a strong opener to a series. So this is the start to The Dark Artifices by Cassandra Clare, if you didn't know. So this book follows Emma Carstairs and Julian. They are parabatai, which essentially just means that they are warriors in battle who kind of are a partnership. It's great. So anyways, they wind up falling in love with each other, and it kind of centers around their forbidden love, but also his family struggles, but also a furry war that is on the horizon. So there's a lot going on in this story. So I definitely recommend this book if you haven't read it. I don't know how I'm going to feel about the entire series yet, because clearly I haven't read it, but I'm going to hopefully do that soon because I'm so excited. I just love this book, and I love Cassandra Clare's writing style. It's always so exciting and so fast-paced. Okay, so those are the 7 books that I read this month. I'm pretty proud of myself, as I said before, but I also watched 2 movies. So I watched Soul, which I absolutely loved. I've got a discussion talking about it. So Soul is about a guy who is just living life, and then he dies, and he discovers kind of the meaning of life, which I think is a pretty deep story to tell, especially in regards to a Pixar kids film. So I definitely recommend checking that out if you haven't. I also watched Steve Jobs this month. So this is a critically acclaimed film about 3 events that happened in Steve Jobs' life. So it was 3 product launches is what it follows. So I don't remember exactly what the products are, but I was a little disappointed with this movie. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I just felt like I was missing chunks of the story, which is understandable given how the story was told. So I just wish that the story was told in a different way, so I didn't feel like I was missing those chunks. But I do feel like the characters were well developed and a lot of stuff was really well fleshed out. I loved how it really centered around Steve Jobs' relationship with his daughter. I thought that that was a great focal point to the movie. And so in addition to those 2 movies, I watched 3 TV shows. So I watched Grey's Anatomy season 3 through 8, and that is about where I stopped. I love Grey's Anatomy to a point where it starts to become just too ridiculous, and then I can't watch it anymore. And that's really all I have to say on that. And I would give that a 3 out of 5 stars. So I guess that wasn't all I had to say. So I also watched Schitt's Creek this month. So I watched the entirety of that show, and I will give that a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm hesitant to almost give it a 5 out of 5 stars because I really loved that show. I thought it was super funny. So this is a sitcom about a rich family that winds up falling from their wealth and losing it all and having to move to Schitt's Creek. And so this sitcom is really great. It's got such original characters, and I just love how deep the characters go and how in the beginning, you know, they seem really on the surface, but as you get to know them better, you start to understand them more, and I just love it. And so the last show I watched was Night Stalker. I feel weird giving documentary type things like this ratings, so I'm not going to. This one creeps me out. It is about a serial killer in California, and I don't recommend watching it at night. I don't recommend watching it if you're someone who is scared of true crime, because it is definitely a true crime thing. It is just really freaky to think about those types of things, so I'm not going to go into any detail other than what I have said. So that is my January wrap up. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment down below what you read in January. I post videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, so I will see you in my next one. Bye!